Hey guys, what's going on? James Campbell, Dynamic Striking, here today with the legendary trainer Teddy Atlas. And Teddy, before we get into anything, we just want to acknowledge your father's foundation, the real reason why we're down here this weekend.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
um, I've heard lots about him, and I know a lot of people say, Customato was always your mentor, and I'm not saying he wasn't, but from over the years talking to you, your father really meant a lot to you, and you continuing his legacy is a big deal to your family and everybody in the city that you help. You're fighting the fight for the people that can't fight. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and look, my father grew up poor, and his father died young. His mother was a strong European woman. She came over. There was three boys. She told each one what they're going to be. There was no, you know, choosing what you were going to be. She told them, Eugene, you're going to be an orthodontist. Reynolds, you're going to be an engineer. Theodore, you're going to be a doctor. And Reynolds became a top engineer for Boeing aircraft. And again, they came from very, very poor beginnings. But Eugene, you're going to become, orthodontist. He became a top orthodontist. And then my father. And apparently, we found out, after he died, that his mother said, "You're going to take care of the poor people. You know, you're gonna make sure you take care of the people that can't take care of themselves." And I guess he listened to his mother because he in order to even become a doctor, he had to get he had to get whatever small scholarships he could. He had an aunt that had a little money; she helped him a little bit, you know. But he was able to. He was brilliant, so he went to NYU undergrad. He graduated NYU Medical, and then he interned at Bellevue. Bellevue back in the day. I remember my father told me when you interned at Bellevue, you saw everything. You were ready for the world. You're ready for everything. And he started his practice. Uh, they lived up near the Bronx. They moved to Staten Island when he was a kid. So he started to practice on Staten Island. It lasted 55 years. And he he was a great doctor. He was a great diagnostic doctor. He was legendary about diagnosing people. There were people that had been to John Hopkins and Mayo Clinic, and they couldn't get diagnosed, and they had different diseases where uh, some of them they like I said they couldn't diagnose them properly. They were dying. There were legendary stories where they walked into his office where you had to wait 5 6 hours to see him because he had the biggest practice in New York, and uh, and he diagnosed him. And you know, he charged $5 for an office visit. It was a different time, of course, but he would drive the medical salesman, the drug salesman, crazy because they would come. He had the biggest practice, so they're trying to get his business. So they would come there to sell him the different drugs that were the newest on the market and different things. And they would give him. He would force them. He would tell them, "Give me samples." There was a madness. There was a what do you call it, method behind his madness. He would get all these samples, and they give him an inordinate amount of samples. The reason he got an inordinate amount of samples was he had all poor patients, and a lot of them, they didn't have insurance. They had, whatever it was back in those days, they had it. Uh, and but the bottom line was they their insurance didn't cover prescriptions, so he would give them samples. So he knew that they couldn't fill the prescription because they didn't have the money. A lot of them anyway. So he would give them samples, and so he would kind of use the 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 drug salesman, to get his business. He'd make him give him, all these samples so that he could take care of the patients, and you know, he he take care of a whole family for $5. He did house calls till he was 80. He went to all the areas and the projects where a lot of people wouldn't go. He'd work all day and then at night he wouldn't get home to 11, 12, whatever, doing house calls uh, to people that couldn't get out. And he founded two hospitals. He actually built them. He built he built the first one, Sunnyside Hospital. It only had 22 beds. It lasted about 23 years. And he built it. There was no Obamacare. There was no idea of there was no HMOs. So he just built a hospital because there was a need for people to get proper hospital care that weren't getting proper hospital care. So this was his way of doing it. And he just absorbed the cost, and the people that had insurance, that had money, they paid their bills. So it was able to, it was able to run, you know, for 23 years. And then finally it got actually bought by the city because they put the Verrazano Bridge up and the highway was going to be there. So they tore it down. And then he went and founded Doctors Hospital, and that lasted 35 years. And he founded that with 59 other doctors. And he would use the hospital as a place to bring people in, again, that didn't necessarily have the proper insurance to get the proper hospital care sometimes. And I remember around the holidays was a special time. The only way I could be with him was to go on house calls or to go to his office. So I went on house calls. I was 9 years old, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. And I go on the house calls. And the holidays became a time where he would drive around and he would find these people that were his patients, but they were homeless. They were homeless. And so he'd get them in the car. He'd tell me to move over, get them in the car, take them to Doctor's Hospital. Now, Doctor's Hospital by this time was run like a real hospital. It was an administrator where they wanted to make money. It was a hospital.
Yeah.
But he would put them in there with, of course, they didn't have insurance. They were street people. But he would put them in there and he'd walk them right past the administrator, drive the administrator crazy. He always had beds hidden away. He always told me, he said, the hospital tells you there's no beds. It's not true. There's always beds. So he would put, and I was just a kid. I was inquisitive. I said, Dad, you put them in the hospital. They sick? He goes, well, they were alcoholics, obviously. But he didn't get into that. He just said, no, they're sick, but they're fairly healthy for their situation. I said, why are you putting them in the hospital? And he said, well, it's the holidays. And the holidays, my father was a man of few words. He'd get right to the point. And he was more about action. It was more about doing. Do, don't talk. But he explained to his son, because I happened to be his favorite, even though you're not supposed to have favorites. He loved everyone. But I just want to be around this guy. So, he would talk to me a little more. And we'd be in the car. And so he'd say, around the holidays is a good time for for most people, but for certain people it's a bad time and it's a dangerous time. And I said, why? He said, because it reminds them of what they don't have. They don't have family. And so I put them in the hospital for a couple of days so they're around people, so that they'd be safe. I found out when I got older what he meant, so they wouldn't commit suicide.
Yeah.
Because there was a high rate of suicide amongst the homeless people, during the holidays. They get depressed for the reasons my father said, it was pretty obvious. And so he would put them in the hospital. They were around people. They're getting 3 meals a day. It was warm. Yeah, just to get them from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And the thing that really struck me about him was, it's going to sound funny because the main thing is he got in the hospital. He looked out for me, did that. He never took any thanks or nothing. He just did it, and then he disappeared. But I'd be with him when they would come out of the hospital, and he would have to walk him past the administrator, where the administrator walk him past so fast the administrator didn't get a chance to get up and start, saying anything. He'd just take him right through, and he'd get away with it. But the thing that stayed with me about him was, it would have been enough just the act of what he did. He always drove them home. When I say home, to wherever it was that they were camped out, basically. But he always took them there. He could have just left them after he got finished. They could have walked, right? They were kind of used to walking, or whatever. He could have given bus fare, but no. He didn't want them to lose their dignity. He didn't want them to feel that way, like they were just a charity case. He didn't want them to feel that way. So he drove them, gave them dignity. So anyway, I could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's too much. But when he died, I wanted to remember him.
Yeah.
I didn't want him. I didn't want that everything he did to die with him. So I started a foundation called the Dr. Atlas Foundation. We do house calls. We look. We'll never be a pimp on his backside, but we do. We try to do what he did. We take care of the people that fall through the cracks. We get people from point A to point B. We create a little bridge together. We you got a mom in the projects, and she's got 5 kids, no fathers. That's one of the problems, and she's working 2 jobs. She's really trying, and kids get sick. She falls out of work for a while, and all of a sudden she's being evicted. She gets put into a city shelter. She gets put in a city. It's violent. Not a place for someone to live, really, especially with kids. So she's in there. She's got an autistic 12-year-old girl. And this is one case, obviously, I'm thinking about. That's why I'm saying this one. But there's hundreds of them. But there's one particular, uh, the poor girl has an episode because she's in this atmosphere that's, that's violent. And but she don't have the means to get an apartment. So we step in, we get an apartment. She don't have $3,000. That might as well be 30,000 to this woman. And again, we're not God. We're not better than any other organization. We're not worse. We're not better. We just do our little bit. We get people from point A to point B. We're not paying for a year. We might pay a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3, just enough for her to get back on her feet, get a job, and she can take care of herself, you know. And the same thing with the did I say the example about the invalid kid with the handicap bathroom? We'll put handicap bathrooms. I didn't say that one, right? Did I mention that one already?
Not on this
Yeah, where
particular one.
we'll go like again. It would be a single mom.
Hmm.
She's got an invalid child. He's getting bigger, and she needs a handicap bathroom. And there's she don't got $10,000 to pay for a handicap, and of course insurance don't pay for those things. We step in, we put the handicap bathroom in. We run a food pantry. We feed over 1,000 families a week. And we've been doing it 28 years now. And again, we just take care of the people that fall through the cracks that have nowhere else to go. We run mental health programs where we bring mobile vans with psychiatrists, psychologists, anti-bullying, uh, anti-drugs. We bring them into these at-risk areas where there's need, and we provide the people with the tools they need to deal with the things they're dealing with. Uh, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for any more 10-year-olds that hung themselves and have grandmothers come to me and ask me not to have their grandson die in vain because he was bullied to death. And why was he bullied to death? Because he excelled in school and they were knocking him for being different. Oh, you're not good enough. You're better than us, and they bullied him and shamed him into hanging himself. So we try to be proactive, and we understand these areas what the dangers are. So we go in there, and nothing is, we've been blessed.
Hmm.
We can't do everything. We're the privileged ones. People say, thanks for, no, thank someone up there and thank all the good people that give us the resources to do this, that we're privileged that we can do it. This small, tiny little bit we do, but we can do that. And it could, it's a myriad of things. Yeah, you got a kid who just had cancer surgery, right? The surgery was 150,000. Wow. So the insurance paid it. Poor kid, and the insurance paid it. But it doesn't pay for the cancer medication, which is $1,200 a month. That's not provided by prescription. It doesn't cover it. So the mom needs the cancer medication. So we'll step in if that happens to be the situation, for that. Every once in a while, there'll be a kid getting chemotherapy, and one of the drugs might not be approved for the insurance, but he needs the chemotherapy. Drug might cost 10,000. So again, in spots, and You know, whatever we can do, that we can do. We can't do everything, but we've been blessed. I can't remember a time we actually said no. Um, you know, as far as doing for the most part, small, big, whatever it is. We've bought vans for kids with muscular dystrophy where they needed a van, you know, to get the kid around.
Yeah.
There was one time there was a family that were going for treatment in Canada, and it was treatment that was not approved here. So they were going to, God, you try anything for your kid. So they were going to Canada. They didn't have transportation. They couldn't afford going up there. They needed a van. We were blessed. We were able to get there. We didn't have, I didn't want to spend $55,000 out of the foundation for one case. I'll be honest. No. But I didn't want to say no either.
Yeah.
So what do? The night that we had the dinner, we have a big fundraiser. We get some political help. We get some grants. Thank God for certain politicians that do give us some grants. But we have to do fundraisers too. So we do our big fundraiser, and on that particular, we have 1,000 people in the room. I took a shot. I said, listen, I'm already thankful for everything you guys do. Thank you. It's Thanksgiving next week. We always do it a week before Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving next week. And look, you guys are going to be driving somewhere, right? Most likely. You don't even think about it, but you're going to find out. We got a 10-year, and then we put the camera on him. We got a 10-year-old kid, and we put the camera on him in the wheelchair. He needs to drive somewhere. He needs to drive somewhere in Canada to get treatments. He's got muscular dystrophy. I think it was Duchenne's, whatever, muscular dystrophy. And I know you've already done so much. You bought a table, you bought a ticket, thank you. But you know what? There's a lot of use here. If everyone could give just a few dollars, just a few more dollars, you know, we'd like to get them a van. Next thing you know, magic. People are good.
Yeah.
Magic. Hand goes up. Teddy, you got 1,000. Teddy, you got 5,000. Teddy, you got 500. Teddy, you got 100. Teddy, you got 300. Teddy, you got 3,000. Teddy, and it just kept going. We got him a van. Got him a freaking van. So, you know, there's so much goodness out there. We see the bad sometimes, too much. But if you allow yourself, if you're in the right situation, you see more good. And we see good. We see good where people give us the resources to, to run the Dr. Atlas Foundation and do the things, do the things a little bit like Dr. Atlas did. Be there for people that,
And those people that are donating, that's a tribute to your character, your father's character. But Teddy, some of the stories you've been telling me, your father, him helping a lot of people, but sometimes he had to give you tough love, right?
Yeah, I mean,
because
I was an idiot. I was a young kid. I was an idiot. I didn't understand until I got older what I was doing like a jerk. See, he was my hero. I didn't know what a hero was. I had no clue. I loved Mickey Mantle. I loved Willie Mays. I loved Muhammad Ali. But I had no idea. I didn't think of them as heroes. My father was my hero. I didn't articulate it in my head, but he was. I wanted to be around that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And, he was great, but he was a great doctor. Sometimes you can't be both. You can't be two things. You can't be a great, father in a way. He was a great father, great provider, and a great teacher by his action. But when you're dedicated to other people in the field that he was, it's hard. You can't clone yourself. It's hard to be, when you get up at 6 in the morning and you start your day by, going to hospitals to check on patients, and then from there you do house calls, and then from there you go to the office, and then from there you go to the nursing homes to check on people that have no family, that you don't even have doctors, medical directors at nursing homes, and you have to have a medical director at a nursing home as a doctor, otherwise they get closed down, but they can't pay him. So what did he do? He wound up being a director for like 8 nursing homes because he didn't want to say no, because and what did he do? He didn't even have to show up. He just had to sign on that he's the director. But no, he signed up to make sure they weren't being abused, to make sure they were being properly, taken care of and treated. So between everything else, he did that, and then finished off the day with house calls. And he did house calls, like I said. I think I said it earlier too. He was 80,
Yeah.
and so as a kid, I wanted him at my ball game. Selfish. He wasn't around. He wasn't able to be around, and I want to, and just I won 3 science fairs in a row. The figure I know about science fair, but I won 3 in a row. Why? Because I knew my father liked science, so I went and won the science fairs. I used to win the science fair, in between all kinds of stuff that in school that getting into a little bit of fights here and there. But I'm winning science fairs. I built a cloud chamber with the help of my father. But I built a freaking cloud chamber, and then people were like, they had things like grasshoppers, in a jar, and I come in with a cloud chamber, and they got like a praying mantis in a freaking jar, like walking around, and cloud, they were like, oh, he won, and again, it was because I wanted his love and I wanted to make him proud, and you get sideways sometimes, and as I get older, I got stupid. I got resentful that he was with everyone else except for me, whatever. And I started hanging out in the wrong place. I started, getting into things and streets and stupid. And, I wasn't grateful for what I had. I wasn't understanding, and what he was doing. And it's just that he wasn't there. So in my crazy young adolescent stupid mind, who got all his attention? Who got all his love in my mind? The fractured, the broken, the injured, the sick. They got him. So I said, all right, I'll become sick and fractured and broken and injured. Well, without, of course I wasn't thinking this, but I realized as I got older, I realized kind of what took me down that path. Next thing I'm in the streets, I'm fighting all the time. I eventually got to a gym and boxed and everything else, but I was in the streets. I was doing all the wrong things, and that got me this, and
007.
yeah, a knife. That's what they were back in those days. On the street where we were hanging out, guys, it was a cheap knife. It was a wooden plated knife, and you could flick. That was the cool thing. Like if you know how to do you with your wrist, you could flick it open. And it was a 007. It was called. So, and that's why I got cut with. But I didn't carry a knife. Some of my friends did, but we fought. But on this particular day, I got involved, and that happened. But when you talk about the tough lessons, like when I was doing stupid stuff.
What about the tire iron one?
Yeah,
That's a good tough lesson. That was
yeah,
probably my favorite one.
yeah. I mean, it's in my book, and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
when I'm fighting in the streets, and somebody hit me with a tire iron, cut right to the chase.
Yeah.
And I got hit with a tire iron, and then after the fight's over, I'm bleeding like a pig, and I had a t-shirt on during the summer, and it's literally red. So one of my friends, drives me down to my father's office. Like I said, it's a 5-hour wait. Place is packed, all paid. And I walk in like I'm Mick Jagger in the Rolling Stones. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I'm privileged. Like I'm an idiot. But I walk in thinking, Dr. Alice, I walk right in and get stitched. I go back out and do the same thing probably, whatever. So I walk in, my friend walks me right in, bleeding. All the patients are horrified, and the nurse sees me. She comes running out. She knew me since I was a kid, so she comes running out, grabs me, pulls me in. My father comes out sticks his head out in the hallway, and says, "Let him wait like everybody else." I was so embarrassed. Oh my God, I was so humiliated. I turned to my friend. I called him some names. I said, "What the frick you? I don't want to go in there and go past. Why you try to bring me in there before everyone? Why you do that? You know?"
Yeah.
And I don't. Yeah. So I waited. I, 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 I still get the family discount. You know what I mean? Because instead of waiting 5 hours, I probably waited 2 hours. Whatever. We had
He
a
made his
towel.
point.
Yeah, and we put pressure on it and all that crap. But we sat there. I made the patients very uncomfortable. Standing there. But but anyway, when he brought me in, and the nurse, of course, has back in those days. We're going back. My God, I don't even want to say it because then I'll be dating myself. But my God, it was a long time, right? Uh, oh my God, it was 45, 47, 48. Oh, it was many years,
Oh
right?
yeah, we'll
48
just go
years,
with that.
40, whatever, a lot of years. So anyway, she got the needle, big needle with the Novocaine. So he starts getting me ready, and she goes, "Doc, you forgot the Novocaine." My father don't forget nothing. Forgot the Novocaine? Are you kidding me? He looks again humiliated. I feel like a freaking idiot. He looks at it. He goes, "He doesn't want that." I said, "I don't want that. Why are you even bringing that out? Why you bring that out? I don't want that." And he goes, "He don't want that. If he's gonna live this life, you should know what this life feels like." Oh, bang, bang. I take a left hook to the body, a left hook to the head any day over that. Any day. Right hand to the any day. Would not hurt like that hurt.
But you didn't
You
make a
know, the truth.
sound.
No, I didn't. I better not make a sound. I wouldn't make a peep. I wouldn't even move.
No.
But I knew how many stitches I got. That I can tell you. I know how many I got. I'm not even going to tell you.
So at what point did you turn it around, Teddy?
Point
Like,
when it became about somebody else, not about me, because it was easy to be their fathers for some reason. Maybe I inherited a little tiny bit from my father, but it wasn't not for me. So loyalty, I didn't see a lot of it. I didn't see a lot of it. People who took care of advantage of my father, his goodness, everything. They were just things I noticed, and different things. I got arrested. I was facing some serious stuff. I was a kid. I was with some older guys, and it turns out that they put it all on me. So I was facing that, and I had an option like they did. I could, you know, back in those days, you call it turning states, whatever. Like I could have cops asked obviously, who was involved in in the thing that we're talking about that I got arrested for, and it was a serious enough charge, obviously, and I'm not saying nothing. And then it turns out that they gave me, you know, and it was a signed paper, and the detective showed it to me. So you have a choice in life. So I had a choice. Now I say something, and but no, I wasn't gonna say nothing. I wasn't gonna make noise when I was getting the freaking stitches. I wasn't gonna go and give someone's name. The same. I mean, you think my father would? I mean, without even. If my father didn't want to give me Novocaine, you think he wanted me to take the Novocaine of giving up somebody when I was the one who made that choice? You think that's a different form of Novocaine? You think he wanted me to, get out of the pain of facing what I was facing by, uh, you know, I hate to use the word because it sounds so stupid, ratting someone out or whatever you want to call it, but giving someone up when obviously it was still your choice. You think I can live with that? You think, not that he wanted me, but to go in jail, but no, it wasn't tolerable. It wasn't, it wasn't something you could do. It wasn't some, there was no, in my mind, people was like, "Oh, Teddy, you stood up. You were a stand-up guy." In my mind, I don't know if I could even take credit for that. I'll tell you why. Because I didn't say anything and I was facing the time, right? But I didn't think that was allowable within the realm that I was living with, the way my father lived his life, and I just didn't think it was allowable. Like, uh, giving up someone because you didn't want to face the consequence. Like, no, you know, You go out there, you fight with people, you might get hit, you might get cut. You go out there fighting, you might get hit with a tie iron. I mean, it's like your choice. You put yourself. You might get arrested. You might actually go to jail. But there's no like parachute to parachute out of it. And so people say, oh no, you stand up. Yeah, all right, I guess. But again, my mentality wasn't even. There was no option.
Yeah, and today that would be rare.
Yes, there was no option in my mind. There was no option. It was you did it, and you got to deal with the freaking thing. So and uh, but then I got very yeah, I got lucky. I got whether God intervened or just I got lucky, and I got a chance to go upstate to Catskill with Customato.
Yep.
During that period, I was 17 years old, whatever. I fought. I won the Golden Gloves, whatever, and I later on became a trainer. I had an injury. I couldn't fight anymore. Blah blah blah, whatever. And there's a lot more to it, but we're not going to do that.
We're not going to
because this has become like this has become like Gone with the Wind. I mean, that's about a 4-hour movie. We don't need that. But
when you did the boxing,
and I became a
trainer, analyst.
Yeah.
Television. What was your most fulfilling moment? Would it be fighting, training, analyst? Well,
I mean, look, the
the
analyst is a lot of work, but it's easier than training because when you train, you got it all on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say all on the line, you're responsible for another person in the ring.
Yeah.
And I just felt like if the only way you could help him was if he trusted you enough to let you help him. But it's hard to trust someone because you're in a dangerous, realm. You're in a dangerous sport, dangerous business. You're telling someone to do something, get in the ring and do it where they could get knocked out. And so when they trust you, that is, there's a lot to that they're listening to you, and they have to, because you got to get them to believe that if they do what you're telling them, and they're dedicated to that, they're committed to that they will win. But if they don't win, I felt like, I felt like you were betraying their trust. And of course, it's crazy in a way because, of course, it's not guaranteed you're going to win. But as I got older, it got harder and harder. When I was young, it wasn't as hard. But as I got older, it was like it was difficult. You be in a camp for 2 months or so. You get them to trust you. You're close to them. You're doing this journey together. This difficult journey where there is risk, and then at the end of the day, if it doesn't come out your way, like I felt like I didn't live up to my end. Not that I lied to him, but I let him down, and so it became more and more difficult as I got older. It was weird, but. So that when you say which was easier, which was harder, it was always harder the training part because a part of you, was at risk in that way. When you're behind the microphone, when you're behind one of these things, yeah, it's your reputation. Like as far as what you say, that you're saying things that make sense, saying things that are responsible, saying things that hopefully make the broadcast better, that people can learn something from it. And you got to make sure you're professional. There can't be any bias. You can't be influenced by anything but what is happening. Not if you know the guy, you don't like the guy, you don't like his whatever. It's got to be right down the middle, black and white. You got to be cornered as it is, based on your judgment, your experience, on what's happening. Again, not influenced by anything else. So you have a responsibility. There's a job there, but there's not the pressure of worrying about who's going to win. It doesn't matter who's going to win. What matters is that you just do it justice by commentating in a fair, balanced way.
Right.
But it doesn't matter if he wins, he loses, and so it's like a walk in the park compared to
Oh yeah.
being in camp for 2 months for a fight and being responsible for that person. Like a parent. Being a real trainer is like being a parent. And really, you got to tell them things they don't like to hear, and I laugh at these guys that want to just be their friend. The best way you can be a friend is by telling them things that sometimes ain't that friendly. It ain't, I got news for you. It ain't that friendly, because the truth is the truth. And I see these guys nowadays. Some of them, they just want to get along with the guy. They want to, they want to be friends with him, and so they're telling them things that aren't necessarily the things they got to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a real trainer, you want to know the truth. If you're a real trainer, you're going to wind up at some point having to tell, if you know what you're doing, that is, you're going to have to tell the fighter something that is actually going to challenge your relationship, is actually going to jeopardize your job. It's actually going to jeopardize your job, that he might not like it. He may not like being told that. He might not be liking being held accountable. He might not like you pointing out his weaknesses. And so you actually have to go there if you're going to help the guy really to
Yeah.
that level of help, and to me that's so it's a whole different animal. But the broadcasting, allowed me after the training for all those years. I've trained so many fighters. My God, I've been in the business 50 years now. But after all those years, the training gave me just allowed me just another option, another avenue to take the things I learned and do it in another area,
Right.
in this area behind the microphone, and so I was very appreciative of that, and I still do it. I do it now. They got me doing more UFC stuff, which is a nice, different kind of world. The striking though it's still striking.
Right. So you got the UFC, the boxers, 19 world champions, been around the NFL, NBA, West Point, real warriors. You have this knack, Teddy, to bring out the best in everybody. And I mean, I've seen it. Everybody sees it. How do you know? And I guess it's like a double question. So how do you bring the best out in people, and how do you know you have one of those fighters? The different personalities, the different fight styles. Like, for example, when you were just
When they're
talking about,
tested,
yeah,
same way if you have a friend, Jamie. It's the same freaking way. When they're tested, when they when something comes along that tempts them to be less of themselves, that tempts them to find a way out, that tempts them to, to think about submission, that tempts them, to forget about whatever commitment they made, whatever goal, whatever dream they had, that tempts them to. It's so difficult at that moment that it tempts them to just find an exit door. And you got a friend. I remember Cus used to tell me a story. He told me a story. He said a guy in the neighborhood came to him because Cus was the guy that they come to sometimes talk. He was smart. And the guy comes in, he was all upset. What are you upset about? He said, today, I lost a friend, 20 years, he ain't my friend no more. So Cus, Cus looks at him, Cus says, how do you know he was ever your friend? The guy got so insulted. Oh my God. Guy got so pissed off. He was like, Cus, I just told you he was my friend for 20. Well, I'm going to ask you again. How do you know he was your friend? Was there ever a situation other than having beers, chasing girls, doing whatever you were doing, going to the bar? Was there ever a time? Was there ever a time that he was tested in some kind of way? It really, truly tested, where it would be uncomfortable to be your friend, where it would be dangerous to be your friend, where it would actually possibly, it would be inconvenient to be your friend, challenging to be your friend. Was there ever a time? Guy looks at him. He goes, "Yeah, today." He goes, "Yeah, today." He goes, "Well, today you found out that he all along they was your friend, but there was never a day like today until today, 20 years later. If it would have happened," he said, "I wish it would have happened for you maybe, 15 years earlier, Charlie. It would have saved you a little bit of your heartbreak now. But it didn't. It happened today. But today was the day you found out." You don't know what someone is until you know. And how do you know? You know when they are in a situation that is not comfortable, in a situation that will really call on their character more than any talent. Will call on, their just, of course, their resolve, all that, their mental toughness, all that, but their character at the end of the day, that they will have to make a choice. They will have to make a choice, you know, and um, and that's when you find out what you have.
Yeah.
That's when you truly find out what you have as a friend, as a wife, as a husband, as a fighter. When that moment comes, you you might not like what you find out, but you will find out. And the thing, see, I have a saying. I said nobody else really know. Few people use it now, but I remember I was really. I think I mean nobody else would say this, and I say it on my podcast. I say it. I used to say it at ESPN, but a fight's not a fight until there's something to overcome. Until then, it's just an exhibition of ability. It's an athletic exhibition, of speed, of power, finesse, pow, pow, looking real good, but and you're fast, quick twitch fibers, if you're talented enough. Uh, but until there's something to overcome, something to, as I said, to challenge you in those other areas, not just in the physical areas, in those areas that could be scary, where you're asked to go into an uncomfortable room where the light's a little dim and find your way out, and where the light almost completely goes out and find a way to bring light back into the room. Until you go into those, it's not a fight. It's not a fight. Again, it's just, it's just, bah, 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 and you're looking real good shadow boxing, whatever. But again, it's an, it's just an exhibition.
You see
But
anybody that has that potential today to be a great?
there's plenty of them. But I mean, we'd be here all day trying to go over them.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's ones that, and again, you don't know till you get, you see the talent, you know that their technique is good, it's bad, you know, you see what their speed is, you see what their ability to punch is, you even see what their IQ is, how they can think in an uncalm environment. You got to be calm in an uncalm environment. You know how they can improvise when they need to, but the part we're talking about,
Yeah.
you're only going to find out about it when things get a little dark, when the light starts to flicker a little bit, you know, and and then you find out, you find out what you got or what you don't have.
Teddy, every time I talk to you, I feel like I learn a lot. I just life lessons, and it's getting late, and I know we have the dinner tomorrow, so I want to let you go. But I got two more questions for you. We were talking about the darkness, right? And a lot of people out there, that they go through that darkness. It doesn't have to be a fighter. You have any advice for people going through that mental block, or you know?
Yeah, yeah, I do actually. You know, you you know, a fight really. a fight is never really lost until you stop fighting. How many great fights have you seen where a guy was gone, 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 gone? I mean, it was impossible. And somehow he came back. And there was a million times he could have just spit the bit. Could have just, nobody would have said a word. But he didn't. Well, life is the same way. You know, I'm going to use an example. Tyson Fury. He went through drug. I think he's a teacher and he doesn't even know he's a teacher. But he's a teacher. He's a great teacher of life. And I'm happy for him. He's making hundreds of millions of dollars, millions and millions, tens of millions, whatever the hell it is. And God bless him. He went through alcohol, drugs, and then everything that could come with that, to spiral down and getting to a dark place. And he had suicide. He was thinking about suicide. He's very honest about it. Very honest about it. Because that's what we're talking about. People getting to a dark place.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing darker than that, right? You're gonna throw away the greatest gift, God-given gift that some people are never given. And you're gonna get the greatest gift and you're gonna throw it away. You're gonna throw it away. But people get to that place. That's not. They do. Sometimes it's part of life. And he was at that place where he was ready to throw away that gift. And he came back. He got himself together. He came back. And he was this close to being gone. Just think about that, people out there. Like, we wouldn't even know what Tyson Fury was. It's this close. Like, he might have had a gun to his head. He was drinking. He was whatever it was. All he talked about was that, I was ready to make that life-ending decision. And for whatever reason, he didn't. I know what the reason was. Life. Just something just at the right time just flickered, like, as bad as it is, life beats death. As bad as it is, we always talk about, you don't want to lie to yourself. And when you think that death is better than life, and I get it, you can get to that place. You really can. I understand. Please. But it truly is a lie, because Tyson Fury is the perfect proof of that. Because as bad as life felt that it was, it's not good now. And if he didn't give himself that opportunity to choose life over death, he never would have known that there could be those days. Simple days, complicated days, but those days. The other thing, there are no days. There's no nothing. And when he fought Wilder, and this is where the lesson lies, to answer Jamie's great question, an important question. And he got dropped with that right hand. And Wilder could punch. He couldn't fight much, but he could punch like hell. He could punch as good as any heavyweight, probably. That hard. With the right hand, just the right hand. See, Tyson could punch with either hand. Joe Louis could punch with either hand. But Wilder with a right hand, if he hit you right, like he hit Fury, man, he could put the lights out. And he dropped him. He dropped him in that 11th round. I believe in the first fight it was the 11th round. I believe it was. And
it was later.
Yeah, and it really don't matter.
No.
And he gets dropped and he's laying there. And he looks like he's gone. Looks like he got hit. He got shot with a 30-06.
He hit his head too.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Off the...
I mean, he's laying there. He's laying there.
He's out.
He's laying there. And it looks like it's all over. I'm going to tell you what I think was going on. His whole life, we talk about how your life passes in front of you when you're about to die, and it passes, right? We hear all the stories about that, right? We don't know. We can only know what we hear. He's there, and he's thinking about his life. But he's thinking about, do I live or do I die? Now, what do I mean by that? It's metaphoric, yes. But what do I mean? What I mean, I don't mean physically die. But when you give up on life, you're dead. Yeah, you're still breathing. Don't get me wrong. You're still breathing. Blood's still going through your veins and all that stuff. But when you're existing, there's a big difference from existing and living. And he was laying there. The man who had gone through alcohol abuse and drugs and suicidal thoughts and everything else. And he was brave enough to get to this place, and now he gets robbed, and he's laying there. He's thinking. He's making a choice. Seems like it's an hour. It's only not even 10 seconds. I think he got up around 8 or 9. And he's there, and he's laying there, and he's thinking, do I live or do I die? Do I live? I gotta live. I gotta live. I gotta really live. I gotta live. I gotta take it to the next. Do I live or do I lay here? And you lay there, and again, I know your heart's not stopping. I get that. Your blood's not gonna stop flowing. But you are no longer committed to living, to being a viable human being. To just, whatever it is, if it's just to go out that day and feel the sun, if it's just to go out that day and walk in the rain, man, it can feel good to walk in the rain. Wow. Whatever it is, he had to make that choice. Am I going to live or am I going to die? Bang, he got up. I'm going to live. Bang, he got up. I'm going to live. And what I said was, I actually made, with Sam Rivera, I made I think you saw it, I'm not sure. But if you didn't, we can find it. It's out there somewhere. But I made an inspirational video for people. And it said, I think the name of it was Get Up. And I talked over the video. And what I talked was, when you're knocked down in life, whatever way it is that you're knocked down, it doesn't have to be in the ring, obviously. Whatever it is, there's always time to get up. There's always time to get up. There's always time to get up. And the most important thing is, at the end of the day, you get up. And there's a chance you're going to have bad days in front of you. But you're going to have days in front of you. You don't get up, you've given up that opportunity, that chance to have those days, to feel the rain, to see the sun, to feel the sun, so whatever it is. So it's always your choice at the end of the day. No matter how difficult it is, there's always time to get up. You can always get up. So no matter how down you are, no matter what, just think about that. I can get up. You might not want to get up, but you can get up. You can get up. I would say get up. That's it.
That's great, Teddy. And I would want to end it on that, but I need one more story. If you can do it. Can you tell them my second favorite story after tonight's gas station story? It used to be my favorite story, but not that one. Can you tell everybody about the Camacho story?
No.
Or is that no?
No, you know why? He's dead.
Oh, yeah.
No, he's dead. And you know what? I miss Hector Camacho in a way that you know what? He was a hell of a fighter, hell of a talent. Never, got all the way to won world titles. He was as fast as they came. He had one of the great chins. People would never think you name Macho Man. Who's going to think you got a freaking good chin, right? Macho Camacho, you got a good chin? Yeah. He wears these skirts around and all these things.
Remember the jab you were telling me about?
But all that stuff. But what a chin, great speed, and tragic, tragic life and ending. And I know the story you want me to tell. I had a little bit of a situation with him, but no,
Nah, don't tell.
no, I'm not
Yeah.
because I already made my choice. I'm not, but I'm making the choice because this guy was a champion. This guy should be. He had a tragic ending, but we should not in any way exploit his tragedy,
No.
or talk about anything other than finding a way to talk about when he was brilliant. When we watched him and said, "Wow, we're watching something special here. Look at the speed of this man. What's his name? His name is Hector Camacho. Wow, kid from Spanish Harlem. Wow, he could be good. Yeah, he could be good. And he was good. And unfortunately, he got on the wrong. He got on the wrong path. He got on the wrong path. Uh, he got all the way to the top and gave all the way down. We make choices. We make choices in life. But he's a kid that I know it sounds crazy because of all the stuff um, that was part of his crazy life. But I really I have a soft spot for him, wishing that just wishing that he could have gotten to a better place, and just because he wasn't a bad kid, he got involved in all kinds of things, but he it's like he never stopped being a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was what a talent. What what a what a talent he was.
Yeah, I never noticed the that jab until you pointed
Yeah,
it out to me, which
yeah.
was
Nobody did.
was
I did it
pretty
in dynamic
impressive.
striking. It was one of the jab because one of the dynamic striking videos that we did, and they're still out there, of course, was different ways to throw a jab. There's I think I had 14 of them, whatever it was. And it was a good video, I got to be honest. I thought it was really good. And his jab was unique. Usually, his jab, you turn it over, you want to cover your shoulder ones that go to your chin so they can't sneak a right hand. You got to throw it from the right distance. You got to understand that. You got to cover fast. You got to understand that. You got to even throw it from the right position. You got to understand that. There's a lot that goes into it. It's a great
Hmm.
weapon, but it's a dangerous weapon. If if you throw it from the wrong at the wrong time from the wrong distance, you could get countered with a right hand. So you have to know how to throw it and where to throw it from. But a jab traditionally, you don't want to raise your elbow. You lose the power. You give the guy a warning. There's a little fraction of a second loss that the guy could time you because your elbow's coming out and you lose power. You want it to come right from here, bang. You want to come right from here, bang. Bang, right from there. And but he was a genius in his own way. Special people are geniuses in their own little way. And Camacho found a way to just I called it, I made a name. I called it the trip hammer. And it's on dynamic striking.
Right.
The trip hammer where boom. And he cut off a tenth of a second. Pop. By just dropping, pop, just drop instead of this, pop, just pop, pop. And and he became a world champion with that. So and nobody was weird. I was doing the commentating for all those years for Friday Night Fights and ESPN and all that stuff, and it just amazed me that nobody like picked up on it. And then I remember when I caught his first fight, first thing I said, "Whoa, he throws a very non-conventional jab. He throws a trip hammer." So that was it.
Oh, that's great, Teddy. But so we got the Dr. Atlas Foundation dinner tomorrow. So guys, the link will be below. You can donate. Check that whole website out. See what Teddy and his foundation does to keep his dad's legacy alive. And thanks for taking the time today, Teddy. Invite us to your house. All your great pictures and all your great stories and your great knowledge. Appreciate your time, Ted.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you and Mike coming down here to support the foundation and the event. Thank you.